Here's one for you. I don't know if you guys follow this scene very much, but I recently found out that Hollywood, as of 2024, they're starting to introduce diversity quotas into the movies that are made. So, for example, if you want to be considered or if you want to be nominated for an Academy Award, you have to hit a certain diversity level in the films that you make. Otherwise, you're not going to be considered for the Academy Award. Obviously, Academy Award, it's highly renowned, highly regarded. Though the last couple of years, I think it started to lose a little bit of its reputation for being really, really good. Because the Academy Awards have a reputation for being incredibly woke, don't they? Like they want to try and appear as though they're on the precipice or they're on the edge. They want to see as though appear as though they're kind of creating the territory for what we should be doing as a culture. And as a result, people are going, I'm not 100% sure. Did a little bit of research. How's this? So with the diversity quotas that they're trying to introduce, it would have meant, and these are only a few of the films that are included in this list, these following films could not have won an Academy Award, couldn't have even been nominated. Titanic, Forrest Gump, Godfather 2, Casablanca, Schindler's List, just a couple of classics. And so it's so strange. So essentially, here's the new requirements. You got to include at least one lead character in the movie who is from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. You have to have at least 30% of the general ensemble cast be from at least two underrepresented groups: women, ethnic minorities, LGBTQ+, or people with disabilities, or having the movie's subject focus on one of those groups. It's a strange time we're living in, isn't it? It's a weird experience to see this, because when you look at art, when you look at like these creative scenes, the idea of having to create within a box of what government tells you is acceptable, and it is government, because the government's saying, I think it was passed by Gavin Newsom in 2021, but it's only starting to be implemented as of 2024. The films that don't hit the diversity quota, not only are they not able to be nominated for an Academy Award, they also incur an extra 4% tax. And those that do hit the diversity quotas, they receive that payment from the other ones who I guess haven't done it, because they receive like a 4% surplus to the edge of it. So I was doing a bit of research on this, and the New York Times said, here's how kind of where it started. And it's interesting because I'll tell you the numbers around the Academy Awards, and it seems to be on like a really interesting timeline based on this. So on January the 15th, 2015, the Academy awarded all 20 acting nominations to white actors for the first of 2 consecutive years, inspiring finance lawyer April Rain to create a hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. In the movie business, nothing is feared like bad press, and by 2016, time-worn incentive structures had begun to tilt in favor of increased diversity in front of and behind the camera. Films like Get Out, Black Panther, Coco, and Crazy Rich Asians drove a multicultural gold rush at the box office, as well as the Oscars, where a recorded 13 winners of color took home awards in 2019 alone. It was interesting. I was watching an interview. I can't remember what station it was on. Richard Dreyfuss, I think he was either I should know this. I need to do a little more research. He was an Academy Award winner, as far as I'm aware. And he was asked how he feels about this, and he goes, "Mate, it makes me want to vomit." And people love to look at that and go, "Oh, okay, he's obviously racist, and of course he could say that because he's a rich white man." But you got to understand that, like, it seems to make sense, don't you think? Like, once you start trying to curate and force a certain narrative to be shown to the world, all of a sudden people start to resist that. And you can see this because in 2014, the Academy Awards had 44 million people tune in to the actual awards. And then it seems that the more and more woke that they go, the less and less people watch. In 2023, there was a total of 18 million. It was the third lowest ever viewership, only third behind the 2 years previous to that. It's interesting. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it, because obviously people are left with a number of choices. First of all, I mean, you can go elsewhere to record your movies. But second of all, I reckon if I was in the position of like being a film director or an actor or an actress, regardless of my race, gender, sexuality, all of a sudden, like the prestige of the Academy Award starts to disappear a little bit, don't you think? Because you realize that it's only the films who fit this really narrow criteria that are even being considered. As I said at the start, like there's a number of films that wouldn't even have been considered for an award had, had this been implemented in years earlier. So it's a very strange thing. I reckon, here's my prediction. I think over time, if they don't change this, they're going to just start to lose a little bit of prestige. I think the Academy Award will start to mean less. I don't know what you guys think, because I think the nature of story and the nature of like trying to put together something creative is to tell a story. And if you start saying, no, it has to be black, white, or gay, or whatever it is to tell that particular story, and you don't start going for the best person for the role, all of a sudden, I mean, you start to lose a little bit of quality. And I reckon at the heart of what it is that so many of these actors, actresses, directors, whatever it is, whoever's involved, at the heart of what it is they got in the industry for, it wasn't to push some just political agenda. I'm sure there's a few, but to actually be able to create films. I mean, it's crazy when you start to look at other areas as well. Like if you have a look at the NBA, I don't know the exact percentage, but majority, like a large majority of players in the NBA are black. Like imagine if all of a sudden the NBA said, no, okay, well, like say 10% of the American population is black, but 90% of the NBA is black. Then there's an imbalance there. Like it seems as though we need to incorporate some more Asians, some more white guys. All of a sudden, I start to look as though I might have the opportunity to go and play NBA. But we're not interested in that, because the truth is, I mean, it appears that when it's a minority group that you're talking about who's dominating an industry, all of a sudden these diversity quotas don't mean as much, do they? And the same can be said for like Major League Baseball. I'm not sure, again, what it is, but Hispanic players seem to dominate the game there. Major League Baseball, I just said that. What is it? National Hockey League. And what was the other one? I mean, it's just interesting. You take this argument outside of the film world and all of a sudden it starts to look really silly. I mean, so I mentioned that 44 million watched it in 2014, 18 million watched it this year. How's this for a fact? 1920, 95% of films were filmed in California. 2023, only 55% of films were filmed there. Interesting. I think, obviously, when it comes to diversity, when it comes to being limited on what it is that you're required to do, people are going to start going elsewhere. I don't know. What do you guys make of that? Are you interested? I never personally sit there when I'm watching anything, like whether it's basketball, baseball, football, a movie, a TV show, and start going, oh, okay, well, these guys don't appear to have hit the appropriate diversity for this particular thing, so I'm not going to watch it. I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, like, is this a good story? Anyway, it'd be interesting to see what happens there.